I was never into anime. Sure, I had seen Dragon Ball and Death Note before, but it never really sparked any deeper curiosity in me about the medium. It was just something I watched, and then I watched Attack on Titan, and it completely changed everything. I was blown away. The storytelling, the intensity, the scale. I genuinely couldn't believe that this was something I'd been missing out on. So naturally, I started exploring more. Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer, and then Jujutsu Kaisen. And while all of these shows have their own strengths, something about Jujutsu Kaisen really stood out to me. Something that didn't quite hit in the same way as the others. The fight sequences. Welcome everyone. This is The Milestoner, and today we are here to talk about why the fight sequences in Jujutsu Kaisen feel so different and why they stand out from other anime. Now, before we get into it, quick disclaimer. I am still a beginner when it comes to the world of anime. So if any of you have suggestions for other such anime that I would enjoy, do drop them in the comments below. Also, this video will contain spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen up to the latest season. So if you haven't caught up with the show, here's a spoiler alert. And for those who have read the manga and know what will happen ahead in the story, please do not give any spoilers. Now, the first thing that really caught my attention in the show was the power system. Cursed energy, cursed techniques, heavenly restrictions, domain expansions, it all sounds complicated. And it is. But the brilliance of Jujutsu Kaisen lies in the fact that it turns complexity into clarity. Every ability operates within certain rules. And more importantly, these rules are respected throughout. Every fight that we see in JJK is basically people using strategy to counter each other until one side manages to outsmart and overpower the other. There are no convenient last-minute power-ups or miracle saves. No. It's just a game of strategy, execution, and consequences. Take the fight between Yuji and Choso for example. Choso clearly has the more lethal curse technique. His blood manipulation gives him range, precision, and versatility. On paper, Yuji is outmatched. So what does Yuji do? He changes the battlefield itself by leading Choso directly into a bathroom while he introduces water into the equation. Something that directly interferes with Choso's ability. Now it has just become an MMA bout. Both fighters are carefully exchanging blows, planning out their moves to one-up each other. And Choso ultimately wins not through a sudden spike in power, but by revealing a layer of strategy he had been holding back, the concealed blood attack. No cheap shortcuts, just plain, simple strategy. A similar thing occurs with Megumi versus Reggie. Megumi has always been a strategist first and a fighter second, and this fight fully leans into that aspect of his character. Sure, the fight starts off with both showing off their specific techniques and abilities, but the fight slowly evolves into a game of wits. Reggie catches on to Megumi's incomplete domain expansion and drops items into it, increasing the weight and literally dragging Megumi down. Megumi counters this by releasing his max elephant Shikigami right on top of Reggie. Now the fight has become a weightlifting contest to see who folds first. Reggie adapts again, using his receipts to escape and retaliate. And then Megumi outplays him by collapsing his domain at the right moment and repositioning himself. He turns the battle into a fist fight, where he ultimately wins through a well-timed attack using Divine Dog. Strategic, methodical, almost like a game of chess. And that is what I appreciate the most. The use of domain expansion is probably one of the most impressive aspects of JJK. In many other anime, something like this would function as an ultimate move, a guaranteed win-win condition. But here it is different. Instead of domain expansions being a power-up, they increase the stakes, introduce risk, and force characters into more complex decisions. Take Yuji and Nanami versus Mahito for example. Throughout the fight, Mahito's pride and arrogance is slowly broken down. And when he is about to lose, he decides to activate his domain expansion to trap Nanami. But Yuji breaks into the domain and this results in Sukuna entering the equation. He unleashes his rage, wounding Mahito and forcing him to retreat. Megumi unleashes his incomplete domain expansion against Reggie during their fight, but that doesn't turn the tide of the battle or give him an instant victory, but it forces his opponent to change tactics to counter him. Yuta's struggle against Ryo and Yuro led to all three unleashing their domain expansions, creating a bubble of energy which allowed Kuraroshi to mount a surprise attack on them. Higuruma's use of his judgment-based domain expansion allows for Yuji's character development, as we see his guilt regarding Sukuna's attack in Shibuya, and it also gives us a glimpse into Higuruma as a person. Another thing that separates JJK fights is how character dynamics are formed within the fights themselves. Obviously, the first example that comes to mind is Yuji and Todo against both Hanami and Mahito. Todo's Boogie Woogie is quite an advanced technique, and in both battles, we get to see just how their bond builds through the use of this technique, to the point that they don't even have to speak in order to fully utilize the technique and outsmart their opponents. They are just that perfectly in sync. A similar thing happens with the fight between Sukuna and Jogo. Throughout the fight, we see that despite being overwhelmingly superior to the Curse Spirit, Sukuna's respect for him has been growing. And even though the King of Curses ends up defeating Jogo, he acknowledges him for his effort in keeping up with him. This also goes hand in hand with the fact that these fights all heavily impact the story. Yuji and Nobara killing Eso and Kechizu in Season 1 brings Choso into the picture, seeking revenge for his brother's deaths, which carries forward into Shibuya and beyond. The Cursed Spirit's battle against Gojo in the subway provides Kenjaku enough time to use a prison realm to trap Gojo, which completely destabilizes the world moving forward. Yuta's fight against Geto results in Geto's defeat, followed by his execution at Gojo's hands, and also allows Yuta to unlock his full potential. And then there is Toji. He is the biggest piece of disruption in the world of JJK. Every single time he appears, he completely changes up the status quo. His killing of Rico led to Tengen evolving, which eventually became a crucial factor in the rise of the culling games. This was followed by him defeating Gojo and Geto, which led to the former unlocking his full potential and the latter going down a dark path, separating as friends. His reappearance in Shibuya led to Dagon's death and Jogo mounting a surprise attack on the others in the scene, which eventually led to Nanami being severely injured and later killed at Mahito's hand. And obviously we cannot forget about Maki completely eradicating the Zenin clan in a sequence that balances character dynamics with heavy stakes and excellent choreography. Which finally leads me to the animation. This is the biggest plus point in JJK's favor when it comes to the fight scenes. Each fight scene is choreographed and stylized in such a distinct way that no two fights ever feel the same. Each character has their own style, and the animation perfectly captures it. Sukuna's battle against Mahoraga is the prime example of this. Both characters are extremely powerful, and it is completely evident through the way the fight proceeds. Overwhelming, chaotic, almost unstoppable. The three-way battle between Yuta, Ryo, and Uro is yet another such instance. All three characters have their distinct techniques, and the animation is done in such a way that they all feel like powerhouses in their own self, which makes us as viewers even more intrigued as to how Yuta will make it out of this. Even a simple fight like Megumi against the Finger Bearer has unique animation that serves to establish the strengths of both characters, as well as Megumi's first use of his incomplete domain expansion. Sure, there can be an argument made for just how gorgeous the animation is in a show like Demon Slayer, but I feel the JJK animation feels more dynamic and well choreographed, which provides more weight to the action unfolding on screen. And that, coupled with all the other points I mentioned, makes JJK one of the best shonen animes out there, at least from what I have seen. But those were just my thoughts. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you agree or disagree with my takes, I am fully open to having a lively discussion about JJK as long as there are no spoilers for the story ahead. Also, if you enjoyed this video, do like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.